Here is the full video from Mark Zuckerberg announcing the end of censorship and misinformation policies. I highly recommend you watch all of it, as tonally it is one of the biggest indications of elections have consequences I have ever seen. Yeah, this is a perfect example of elections have consequences. Like really good ones sometimes, actually. Like everything that happens isn't terrible now. That's a good thing, right? Maybe I should mention that on X because it's got the new positivity score. I checked mine. It was like 38 out of 100. Not great. Maybe I should say that not everything is a disaster anymore. Some things are actually good. It's amazing. All right, let's take a look at this. And this is a massive change. Like this should be seen as just a massive earthquake in the whole narrative control landscape.
Hey everyone, I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over.
But he didn't seem to believe it before. That's the problem, right? Like he admitted that he bowed to pressure from the government to censor things, from government agencies, from intelligence agencies to censor things, right? So he didn't actually believe that before.
For the last several years, there's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly.
Yeah, and everybody's for that. Everybody's for getting that out, right? It's just the, dead naming, 50 security experts, that sort of thing. Anyway, let's continue.
So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tip.
Yeah, the mistakes are where the narrative control lies. That's the narrative control there, the mistakes. But let's continue.
Point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse.
They've always been out of touch with it. Immigration has always been a topic that should be fair game in the public square. Always. Everything. Gender theory, the infinite series of abstractions made up out of whole cloth. But now apparently he's come to the realization, is he genuine or not? Is he just going with the winds of change? Either way, this is still a good thing.
What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms.
I like the fact that he's admitting there that, yeah, it's just been a way, this fact checking, the censorship, editorializing, what you can talk about in the public square and what you can't, based on essentially on leftist, not essentially, entirely on leftist standards, that has shut down debate, right? I'm just glad to hear him admitting this.
Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth,
the filters were always there, always super sensitive, for the purpose of taking down anything that Marxists found politically incorrect. That's the reality. I'm glad it's changing. I'm glad it's changing now.
We're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it. It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice. I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.
So whether or not he's being sincere about his own ideas, his own thoughts, it doesn't matter as long as he's sincere in following through on it. As long as he follows through on that and actually does it, then that's good. That's just a win, right? That's just a win. I mean, that would mean that the norm is returning to sanity again, and that people are operating within a sane norm again. They just automatically will do that. That's good. That's good for society. It doesn't matter if he really believes it or not, or believes in it or not, whether he's just going with the winds of change or not, right? The norm returning to sanity again is still a good thing. But if in the larger picture, what I see is whether or not he's genuine or not doesn't really matter. What we see is that the norms are returning to sanity, right? The default is returning to sanity, right? The default being, no, you don't censor legal speech. You don't censor normal speech. You don't censor people for accurately describing the world as they see it. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.